Hey guys, Dave Huet here, one of the producers that usually hides behind the camera, here with Chris to talk about some of his must draft running backs. But if I said must draft running backs, Chris, how would you actually phrase that if I wasn't putting words in your mouth?
All right. Well, so, I mean, we're going to talk about five guys. I can't sit here and promise you that you have to draft them, right? One of them will be very difficult to draft in his current incarnation. But I think what I'll say is, the clickbait aside, what we're really talking about here is the 2020 Harris Football Player Profile Almanac, and I watched film on everybody for the Almanac, and these are the guys that I think I raised the most in their ranks based on what I liked on film. And so maybe it's not must draft. I don't know what the value is going to wind up being when people draft, but I can say I'm going to consider drafting them, and I can also say they're going to be on a lot of my teams.
All right, so these are the guys who rose the most, which is a little bit of a surprise because start us off. Who's the first name on the list that somehow rose in the ranks?
Right. Well, Josh Jacobs, the jacked gerbil, the Raider running back. I have him number 6. I think when I started the process, I might have had him number 10 or something like that. And nobody's going to be shocked if they listen to the podcast to find out that I like Josh Jacobs an awful lot. He reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. When in his fantasy heyday, for the oldsters out there who used to own MJD, he just isn't he sturdy. He just finds a way not to fall down. He pinballs. I love the film so much. Obviously, the possum likes him an awful lot as well. What I'll say is, there's all this talk about whether is he going to catch passes now. I don't know. I don't know how any usage is going to work out. I can't promise you anything when it comes to that stuff. I really, really like him, and I can imagine myself taking him ends of first rounds in a lot of drafts this year.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest surprise of him being on the list was just how did this guy move up? I don't, I've got the Bears pennant up. I remember him just slaughtering the Bears, and then on top of it, we put out our weekly recaps. If anyone wants to go back and look at on Monday mornings, we were doing the recaps of stuff you might miss, and I late that night was editing together the game tape he had, just tearing the Bears apart. He did everything in a London game.
He's short, but like MJD, 220 pounds, right? And I feel like we haven't scratched the surface. The situation, of course, the Raider offense wasn't all that good. Like, I just want good players, and I really like Josh Jacobs a lot.
Cool. I'm on board with that too. Let's take a quick break. Now we talked about Josh Jacobs to get a word from the sponsor, and then we'll come back. We got 4 more guys for you guys to hear about.
We're sponsored by the Thursday Boot Company. I got to tell you, I absolutely love my Thursday boots. They're incredibly comfortable. They're an incredible value. They've been featured in Esquire and GQ, many other places. The durability of a work boot, but they look like a fashion boot. They have styles for men and women. They make a great gift. They've sponsored the podcast for years, so I can promise you hundreds of happy Harris football fans have enjoyed how comfortable they are and how great they look. Click the link right now. Go see what they've got. Many styles. We absolutely love Thursday boots. If you're getting ready for the weather to get colder, get yourself a nice new pair of boots. You will not regret it. ThursdayBoots.com/Harris football.
All right, we're back working through a list of the players that really jumped out at Chris and rose through his ranks over the summer as he's rewatching everyone. Hit me with number 2. Who you got, Chris?
Truly, Nick Chubb. All I can say is the reason I was lower on him to start the process of the Almanac was the presence of Kareem Hunt, who I think is a really good player. And I don't think, the fact that he's there for the full year was really scary to me. And it was tough for me to get Nick Chubb even inside my top 12 running backs to start out. If we didn't have Kareem Hunt in Cleveland, Nick Chubb would be, I think, a top 3 or 4 running back for me. The talent is that good. And I basically refamiliarizing myself with this rolling ball of butcher knives, this guy who is a big guy, but an absolute big play threat and not your sluggish accelerator who actually has pretty soft hands, who just is overall one of the best running backs in the league. It just made me realize I can't do it. I can't take Derrick Henry over him. I can't do it. I know people hate me. I can't do it. So I just wound up saying I like the player and the tape too much. I recognize there's more of a split than I'm comfortable with, but I'm going to wind up taking the plunge.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Chubb always brings a couple things to mind. One is like, hey, we're talking good about Browns player, and Piper isn't even here to stand up for his own guy, which is great. But I wanted
his Chubb jersey out. Yeah,
I wanted to bring up Derrick Henry. Who do you think is faster, If it's just a sprint, a 40 sprint.
I'm going to say I actually think maybe Chubb. I have no question who I think would win the race. I think Chubb would win the race because I think he gets up to speed faster. Maybe that's wrong. I guess I don't know. I guess, people can point to 40 times at the Underwear Olympics, and I just don't know. But I know who gets the first 10 yards faster. I don't have any question about that.
Yeah, that was my thought, but that's kind of why I asked, was the initial quickness, the acceleration part of it, I think does make a difference.
And the cutting. I mean, it's so funny, Dave. I talked about Jonnu Smith on the podcast a couple weeks ago. And I'm remembering something that I completely forgot when I was watching Titans film. We're not even talking Titans here, but what the heck? It's our YouTube channel, Dave. We can do what we want. And they lined up Jonnu Smith at running back. And on that play, I knew, since I looked it up, and I knew that Jonnu Smith was going to get the ball here, I was like, wait, where is he? Is it a reverse? What's happening? And I realized he was in the backfield. He was lined up at halfback, and they handed it to him. And he went right, and he cut up field, and he started going. And I was like, well, that's faster than Derrick Henry goes. Like, I was positive that Derrick Henry wouldn't have gotten there as fast or had that cut. And frankly, it looked more like Nick Chubb. He is a really, really spectacular running back.
Yeah, I'm on board. If anyone wants some fun extra reading while you're waiting for the Almanac, we're talking about the Almanac, go back and read Chubb's entry from last year. I might not have laughed any harder than a reference about a restaurant that I still, a year later, am remembering cackling when I first read that. All right, we got on number 3.
So it's Devin Singletary. And I didn't expect to have Singletary at number 15. Let me check what I have him. I have him 16 among running backs, which, from the reactions that I've gotten so far from people at Harris Football on Twitter, they're like, wait, what? Huh? Singletary? I have a feeling that's pretty out of step with where the market is valuing him. I remember having a conversation with Brett Coleman on the podcast this winter in which he was actually gushing about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, on whom I think I'm also higher than the market from what people say. And I think I asked him on the show, well, boy, I know how much you love Edwards-Helaire. Who would you go with, him or Devin Singletary? And he was like, I want to take them both. I want to pick 12 and get Edwards-Helaire and then Singletary. And I don't think that's how it's going to wind up working. And I don't have Singletary quite that high myself, but I went back and watched again. And of course, again, I'm not going to give you a lot of situational talk. I recognize that situations matter a ton, but is the Frank Gore work a little bit of it maybe gonna go to Devin Singletary? Is it all Zach Moss? Like, I don't know the answer, of course. So could touchdowns be an issue? I guess they could. All I know is, once again, we're talking about one of these weebles who wobble and just absolutely don't fall down. And I don't know how he stays on his feet. He actually shares a lot of qualities. I don't think he's quite as good as Josh Jacobs. He's not quite as sturdy. He's not quite as big. He's not 220 pounds. But I'll tell you what, I just don't know how he stays on his feet as long as he does. I think he winds up being a crucial part of that offense. Look, he should catch more passes. I really like Devin Singletary a lot.
Yeah, I don't have anything more to add to that. I'll actually, I want to throw people a link to a video. Dave Piper did a video for us this summer breaking down Singletary's game tape. So it's still there. You guys can watch it. Nothing's changed. They haven't played football since, and it's great. He spends a whole video focused on it. Spectacular.
Like, in some ways, I guess Chubb isn't. We're gonna have at least 3 guys on this list who shouldn't be as good as they are at football at running the ball, and who are on the littler side, shorter certainly, and just have that thing where they don't fall down. And we're about to get to one more who doesn't have a team.
All right, who's that? No team. What a teaser! I got nothing to cut to.
Sorry, I'm your segues. Well, okay, so you saw this list before we started, and it's not like I'm telling people they have to draft Devonte Freeman. You must. It's a must draft. I'm telling you, 4 weeks before your fantasy draft, you have to have. Like, I think Devonte Freeman's going to sign somewhere, and I think probably the landscape changes entirely. The way I came up with the criteria for how I made this list was, who did I watch film on and objectively go, I have him too low. I have to do something about this. And Devonte Freeman was one of them. I had this impression that he was such a bust, and he was such a sort of a non-factor, and ended the year hurt, that I kind of wasn't even considering him to rank him. And then I watched what most of the season looked like. But I wanted to ask you, when you saw this list of 5 players in an email, did you spit out your Cheerios?
No, but I actually was concerned that there was another Devonte Freeman that I hadn't heard about. Like, did another guy join the league? Like, that was legitimately, I went, is there a rookie? How did you watch game tape? And then I realized, no, just that's who we're talking about.
No, Harris is just a moron. So like with no team as of our recording this, I have a number 46 among running backs. So it's not like I'm trying, this is a mid-round gambit. This is like take a shot. Am I going to take Latavius Murray, not having drafted Alvin Kamara, or going to take Devonte Freeman? Like, that's the neighborhood I'm talking about. But all I can tell you is, for all this talk about how washed he was, I'm not going to say he looked amazing. Like, what? He had 6 touchdowns total, got just above 1,000 yards in 14 games. It's not a great year, obviously. They weren't good. The Falcons weren't good in general, and he participated in the not goodness. I just am going to tell you that I think this is his age 28 season. The player who we used to consider kind of a locked in first round pick. Yeah. Well, he's not that anymore, but like, get him to the Eagles. I think he's a real threat to Miles Sanders. Get him to the Seahawks. I think he's a real threat to whoever that mess is all about. Of course, no idea whether he signs. It's a weird year. He himself apparently is asking for a lot of money. I want people to remember that I said very early in the process, as I was writing the Almanac, like, okay, I can't have Devonte Freeman 70 among running backs. He had too much juice last year.
Yeah. Well, and it's a great find because, anyone can get hurt or stuff. If anyone's like in a league of degenerates already drafting now here at the end of July, then you might be able to get a steal. Like, if your league still has kickers, despite all logic, don't take that kicker. You can grab Freeman or this next guy and just stash them there.
Hold on. Before you get to the next guy, which the next guy is kind of a different.
Right.
I really like the 4 players that I've mentioned. The next guy is a different kind of,
okay,
a little more situational. But I just want to know personally, do you have a Devonte Freeman horror story? Because there are a lot of them.
I don't think I do. I mean,
no. Did you ever have him, or did you have him in one great year?
I think I only had him in the 1 year. I just got lucky on it. I would have to go back and look through if I've got enough teams where it all just kind of blurs, unfortunately.
Right. There is just, I'm sure a lot of people watching this video, there's just a visceral reaction like, you're going to do what now? He's a must what now? He's not a must flush. He's a must draft. What? And I get it, because he's gotten hurt a bunch. And last year wasn't, he got hurt at the end, but he wasn't good before he got hurt. So I get why people are having that visceral reaction. I'm not trying to say he's really, in the strictest sense of the word, a must draft, but I'm interested at the price. I'm interested at the price that I assume I don't really know what the price is, but I assume no matter what, the price has got to be really low, right, based on even when he signs somewhere is not going to be as a number 1.
Yeah. And he's had the talent to be up there in the past, even if he's broken hearts other years. Like, we've seen it. It's a shot at that or some rookie we've never seen. This guy can do it.
Sure. I mean, he didn't do it so good. I mean, he was probably never should have been an RB1. I'll cop to that. It was a great year for the Falcons offense and should have won a Super Bowl. And, it was probably, he was always a little exaggerated on the upside. And I just thought he looked kind of like, all right, I'm talking too much about Devonte Freeman. Let's talk about Dari Ogunbowale, who, when I started the process, I, like everyone else, was like, they wouldn't have drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, that, staunch, because I'm so familiar with Vanderbilt football. They wouldn't have drafted him if they weren't going to play him, and maybe this says something about Ronald Jones and whatever. And so in my initial ranks, I don't know, did I have Ogunbowale even ranked in the top 80 running backs? I'm not sure. And again, I'm in standard leagues, I don't even have him inside my top 50, so must draft is overstating the case. And you can go ahead and fill in. Your reaction about Devonte Freeman was less vexed, was it, than seeing Ogunbowale on the list?
Yeah, I mean, he's I didn't have a gut reaction at all. I was just, oh, okay.
Are you sure? So all I'll say is, he's not a ball carrier, right? They're never going to hand him the ball a few times. It's going to be a total change of pace. 3rd and 17. Let's call a draw play and just give him the ball and get out of here. I can say the same thing about James White. I just think he is James White reincarnated, except for, thankfully, James White isn't dead. So he's maybe a clone, maybe a James White clone. Would have been a more charitable way, less morbid way of phrasing that, but too late. And where is Tom Brady coming from? Like, there's a world where I go, skills-wise, watching this kid run really rock solid routes, having very soft hands, pretty maneuverable in the open field. Like at this point, we all went through the James White feeding frenzy 2 seasons ago, where everybody decided he was going to be an RB1 and everybody like, ha ha ha, Denny Carter, I love you, man. But in the end, like nobody's deluding themselves that James White is really a ball carrier and he's essentially a slot receiver or a receiver out of the backfield. Ogunbowale has those skills. It's an easy dot to connect. He also went to the University of Wisconsin. I'm going to tell you, like in the fishbowl, I took him real late. I think I'm interested in deeper leagues. I'm talking about like a 13th round pick on a team that I, need a couple of extra running back options, especially in PPR. I'm not going to be shocked if Keyshawn Vaughn is in the mix and Ogunbowale plays a lot.
Right on. I mean, at that point, they're free, so you got to pick a talent. And you watched what there was to see of him, and that's more than a lot of us have seen.
How many catches? Right. How many catches was it? It was 35 catches. So I won't even say I saw the 80 catch season, dude. What are you talking about? But that wasn't the offense, right? It was the wacky, waving, inflatable, arm flailing tube man, and he wasn't checking down all that much. But I just felt like, from what I saw when they did check it down, Ogunbowale's got a little juice to him in the open field.
Cool. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Thank Chris for the time talking about the Almanac. If you haven't already pre-ordered the Almanac, Chris, where can they go?
Harrisfootball.com. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance because the Almanac first edition comes out August 1st. So if you're watching this pre-August 1st, it'll be delivered on August 1st. If you're watching post, which there's a pretty good chance, we're going to leave these videos up for a while. You can read all about every player. I wrote long little essays about every player. If you want to read the Devin Ogunbowale 2 paragraphs, they're there, and every other player you might be considering too.
Cool. That's my reaction when you send me a list with Ogunbowale is, I better check the Almanac on this guy. All right, everybody. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.